Let's start this review with a brief history lesson. Now, back in the noughties, Toyota got together with Peugeot and Citroen to build a small city car, and the Citigos 107 and the C1 were born. Now, that collaboration was such a success that they've decided to do it again, only this time round there's a greater difference between how the three cars look. The Citroen marks itself out with a similar upside down headlamp arrangement like the Picasso MPV. It also has a big smiley face and shiny Citroen logo, while round the back there's some 3D effect tail lamps and that all glass tailgate, which helps cut production costs and makes the C1 starting price very tempting. Call me cynical, but the low starting price is obviously key to getting you guys, the car buyers, into dealerships, and the trick for the manufacturer is to get you to spend more cash than you originally intended by paying extra for a car with lots of cool styling add-ons such as a contrasting roof and some shiny wing mirrors. You can also personalise the interior of the C1 with various colours, but unlike the exterior, the interior is pretty much identical to that of the Toyota Aygo and Peugeot 108. Still, it feels suitably youthful, while there are plenty of cubby spaces for all your bits and pieces. Okay then, let's talk specs. Now, you don't want the entry-level touch model because it doesn't come with air conditioning, and even on a car this small, no thanks. The next model up does though, and it's called the Feel. Yeah, you've got it, this car is all touchy-feely. Nice one, Citroen. That has air conditioning, which, like I say, is a must. You also get some other kit as well, such as height adjustment for the driver's seat, which is essential, especially as, while you can alter the height of the steering wheel, you can't alter it for reach. No, I'm not going to complain too much about that because that's common on lots of cars of this size. You also get, on this Feel model, you get a nice 7-inch touchscreen, and that lets you connect your phone to the car in quite a clever way, as I'll show you now. You download an app called App in Car if you have an iPhone, or Drive Link if you have an Android phone. These allow you to control certain compatible apps such as a music player and a sat-nav through the car's infotainment system, though you do have to pay extra for the apps. You won't have to pay extra for safety kit though, as 6 airbags and electronic anti-skid control come as standard on the C1, as does hill hold control, which holds the C1 on the brakes to make getting away on a slope easy. That particular feature is nice and handy when you're driving in town, so too is the good all-round visibility, and the fact that these controls, the gear shift, the steering is nice and light. Thankfully, the steering is actually speed sensitive, so it's not too light when you're on the motorway because it actually weights up a little bit, and then that means the car doesn't feel like it's all kind of a little bit flimsy and weaving about the place, which is handy. So too is the fact that this has got a good turning circle, as I'll demonstrate now with a classic Carbuyer circumnavigate the mini roundabout test. So here we go, round and round and round and round we go. Until the car drivers honk at you to get off the blooming mini roundabout. In my mind, there are two types of city car. There are those cheap, affordable city cars which do a good job of getting you from A to B and driving you through the city. Then there are the second category which do all that, but then add a little bit of extra style about the way they do things. And this C1 falls into that category because the car actually has a very distinct character. It's got more personality and character than the old C1. And it's not quite as cool as a Fiat 500, but then it's cheaper to buy than a Fiat 500. And this Airscape model, yes, the sunroof will cost you an extra £900, but it's well worth it, because if you want a convertible version of the Fiat 500, it's about £3 more than this car. And this roof is so big that it actually, here in the front, it feels like you've got a convertible. And today, you know, roof back, sun's out, this little car is actually making me feel pretty good about my life. You can only get the C1 with 2 engine choices, and so that makes the buying decision nice and easy. Actually, I'm going to make it even easier for you now, because while there is a 3-cylinder 1 litre which will do 74 miles per gallon, you don't want that. You want the 1.2 3-cylinder in this car, because it can still do 65 miles per gallon and it feels noticeably quicker, especially on the motorway. In fact, on the motorway with this 1.2 litre engine, this little C1 can actually hold its own. The C1 is also pretty quiet for a small car, even when you're at speed, and the seats are nice and comfy for long journeys. It also rides okay, but it still doesn't deal with bumps as well as a Hyundai i10 does. In fact, the Hyundai has kind of raised the bar in terms of the comfort that you can get from a city car. And in another way, the Seat Me has raised the bar in the type of fun you can get when driving a city car down a B road, because while this handles all right, it's not particularly engaging. I have a few other complaints about the C1. Now, admittedly, they are only minor, but they're the kind of things that could annoy you slightly if you have to live with the car. And one of them is the fact that the heating vents, there's one over here, there's one over there for the passenger, but the central one is behind this centre console. So the air from that doesn't really hit you. So on a hot day like today, when you want to blast yourself with air conditioning, you can only cool the right side of your body and not the left. Then there's the fact that when you pull up to a junction, and if the engine is still running, it's on tick over, and you've got the air conditioning on, you get this vibration coming through the seat. It kind of makes my moobs wobble about a bit and makes me think that I really should get back to the gym. Then there's the horn, which is a bit pathetic. See what I mean? By far the biggest problem with the C1 though is its lack of practicality. Yes, I know it's only a city car and the boot is bigger than before, but it's still a lot smaller than the boot on the Hyundai i10. It's the same story with the back seats. Now obviously this is the 5-door model, which does improve practicality somewhat, but even then the rear doors, they don't open particularly wide. That could be a problem if you're trying to deal with a baby seat, because it's going to be a bit of a fiddle. It gets worse when you get inside actually. Yes, it may be bigger than before, but the C1 is still really cramped for adults here in the back. I'm 5'11", and as you can see, my knees touching the seat in front, which are level to the driver's seat, which is in my driving position. My head's, well, it's touching the roof, and yeah, kids, they'll be fine back here, but only if you go for the model with air conditioning, and I'll show you why now. The C1 only has these pop-out rear windows, so if you haven't got aircon and the roof is shut, or you haven't got it on your car, your kids are going to be on a hot day like gasping for air like a bunch of goldfish in an overcrowded fishbowl. In fact, I think I'm going to get out. Okay, who put the child locks on? And then there's Citroen's reliability record. It came a lowly 26 out of 33 of the major car manufacturers in the 2014 Driver Power Owner Satisfaction Survey. If that particularly bothers you, yet you still want a city car with a personality like the C1, and yes, it has got a big personality, then you should check out our review of its sister car, the Toyota Aygo, because it has a 5-year warranty. Now you should definitely watch our review of that car up there, because there is a downside with the Toyota which you don't have with the Citroen, and it's quite a biggie. I'm not going to tell you what it is now, you're going to have to watch the video review. You're also going to have to watch our video review of the Hyundai i10 by clicking down there, because after all, it is Carbuyer's Car of the Year for 2014. Now if you click down here, you can watch our very latest video review, and if you click up there on our logo, you can subscribe to the Carbuyer YouTube channel.